The screen is absolute black. A single distant war horn moans across centuries and dies into silence. Cold steel rings free of its scabbard. Smash cut to a tired boy in a hoodie holding a dirty stick in moonlit ruins. The camera spins violently. 10,000 golden armored elves snap into perfect salute, swords flashing upward. A woman's voice breaks through tears. You returned. The stick ignites into a blazing staff of sunlight. He drops to his knees from its weight. A silver-haired princess sinks to the ground, whispering, "My king, welcome home." Freeze on his stunned face. Title explodes in molten gold. He thought it was just a stick. Until warriors took battle stance and someone whispered, "You returned." Soft choral voices rise like mist. A warm male voice whispers, "Tonight his name is Kai 23, broke and completely alone. He found the stick 2 nights ago because it felt warm. He has no idea an entire kingdom has been dying waiting for it." He trips over a root. The staff tears open a slash of pure light and he falls through. He lands in golden grass. 10,000 warriors roar, Althea, and the princess drops to her knees crying. Kai laughs in panic. "You have the wrong guy. It's just trash I picked up." The elder tells him to touch the eternal flame. The stick explodes into the legendary staff of Althea. Every warrior slams fist to chest. Lyrian's tears fall as she says, "We never stopped believing, even when you forgot yourself." Memories flood in. He sees himself as the ancient king kissing her goodbye 1,000 years ago. He collapses gasping. Lyrian catches him and cradles his head against her armor. "You left so we could live," she whispers. "Every night I waited on this exact spot for the boy who would bring you home. I don't know how to be a king," he says, voice cracking. She smiles like sunrise and answers, "Then let me teach you like I promised." She places his hand over her heart. Her armor flares in recognition and the army roars his name. Golden armor flows over his hoodie like liquid light. The crown settles on his brow as 10,000 warriors kneel. He looks at her fingers, still laced through his. For the first time in either life he doesn't feel alone. Night falls and lanterns float like fireflies. On the highest balcony she rests her head on his shoulder and says, "You're late." He slips an arm around her waist. "Traffic was murder," he laughs. "And the stars feel right again." Dawn paints the kingdom gold. She kisses the scar on his palm and teases, "Still just a boy with a stick." "Your boy," he answers. She smiles and the entire world exhales. The screen fades to warm black. White text reads, "He thought he was nobody." Until an entire kingdom knelt and remembered who he was. The voice whispers, "Some kings aren't born or chosen. They're remembered across 1,000 lonely nights. And some promises outlast death itself." Tonight, a tired boy came home, and the princess who waited finally got to keep him. If this hit the part of you that still hopes someone is waiting for exactly you, comment return. Final frame. Their intertwined hands against sunrise, his scar glowing like a vow. One last shared heartbeat, then fade to black. Fast, calm, let's story the night was ordinary, until it wasn't. Kai 23, hoodie frayed at the cuffs. Walked the forest path behind the gas station because the rent was late, and the silence was cheaper than the bus. 2 nights earlier he'd found a stick half buried beside the dumpster. It was warm, strangely warm, like it had been waiting for his hand. He kept it because it felt less lonely than the empty apartment waiting for him. He tripped. The stick flared white yet hot. A slash of light tore the air like silk, ripping in half. He fell forward, and the world vanished. He landed on his knees, in grass that smelled like summer he had never known. When he looked up, 10,000 golden-armored warriors snapped from stillness to perfect salute, swords flashing upward in one blinding wave. Their captain's roar shook the sky. Althea. A woman walked through the ranks alone. Silver hair, crown too heavy, violet eyes already crying. Princess Lyrian stopped 10 feet away and sank to her knees in the grass. "My king, you came back." Kai laughed, high and panicked. "Lady, you have the wrong guy. This is just trash I found behind a dumpster." An elder in star-embroidered robes stepped forward, touched the staff to the eternal flame bearer. Kai shrugged, still half convinced it was a prank, and tapped the wood against a floating blue fire. The stick exploded into liquid sunlight, stretching 10 feet tall, blazing so bright it forced him to his knees. Every warrior slammed fist to chest in perfect unison. Lyrian's tears fell faster. "We never stopped believing, even when you forgot yourself." The staff burned against his palm and memories that weren't his poured in like molten metal. He saw himself in ancient armor on this same field, kissing Lyrian goodbye beneath a dying sky. He watched himself shatter the staff in his own soul to seal an endless darkness, whispering, "Find me when the world is kind again." The last thing he heard before rebirth was her scream, "I will wait every lifetime." Kai collapsed, gasping, tears streaming down a face that suddenly felt too small for everything inside it. Lyrian was already there, catching him before he hit the ground. She cradled his head against her chest plate, like he was made of glass. "You left so we could live," she breathed. "Every night for 1,000 years I stood on this spot and waited for the boy who would bring you home. I don't know how to be a king," he whispered, voice cracking. Lyrian smiled like sunrise. "Then let me teach you, like I promised the night you left." She took his free hand, pressed it over her heart. Ancient runes on her armor flared in recognition. The army roared one word that shook the mountains. "Althea?" Golden armor flowed over his hoodie like liquid light, forming perfectly, as if it had waited 1,000 years for his shoulders. The crown settled on his brow. 10,000 warriors dropped to one knee, a golden sea bowing to their returned king. He looked down at her fingers still laced through his. For the first time in either life, he didn't feel alone. Night fell. Lanterns floated like fireflies. On the highest balcony, he leaned against the stone in his old hoodie again because it still felt safer. Lyrian stepped beside him, crown set aside, silver hair loose in the wind. She rested her head on his shoulder without asking. "I waited 1,000 years for this," she said softly. "You're late." He slipped an arm around her waist. "Traffic was murder." She laughed, small and ancient and brand new. Below them, the city sang his name in a language he was only just beginning to remember. Above them, stars he had once named blinked back into place. Dawn came gold and gentle. She kissed the faint scar on his palm and teased, "Still just a boy with a stick." He smiled, small and real. "Your boy." She leaned into him, and the entire world exhaled. He thought he was nobody. He was wrong. An entire kingdom had knelt to remember who he was. And the princess who waited 1,000 years finally got to keep her promise.